Good evening, guys, and welcome to another episode, my third one tonight. And I've got the wonderful Carmen with me. Hello, Carmen.
Hi.
Hiya, thank you very much for joining me.
No, the absolute pleasure. But I must say, Steve, you're asking for trouble having two Scottish people on, one after the other. Bound to be chaos.
I love the Scottish people. I love Scotland. And at the end of the day, Scotland to me, I took my wife on a honeymoon once we didn't have a honeymoon. We went away for a little while and I really loved Scotland. And we stayed in a beautiful hotel, and the people were friendly and everything, and I love it. Can tell everybody about yourself.
Okay, so I'm an author. I've been writing for just over a decade, basically. I published my first book, I think, back in 2012. I self-published that because I don't know really, I just decided to. And it was a science fiction book, and it became a series. Instead of being a single book, I actually went ahead and wrote a series of 10 books, which is kind of a crazy thing to do really when you first start off. But from that, once I self-published the first book, I got a couple of publishers to then publish my next two books. And then I went back to the self-publishing mode because I also started to write for film and TV. So I was kind of pushing forward on different fronts for the writing. And it seemed a lot more sensible for me to be dealing with everything myself, because obviously that's what you do when you go into film and TV and you're pushing forward. And more recently, my business partner and I have set up a production company called Emma Wayne Productions. So we're now producing our own films as well. So we're kind of doing everything really, just one of the things.
And do your production company cover the complete UK?
Yeah, so we're a very new production company. We only started up last year. Louise is a writer as well, and also an actress. And I'm primarily a writer. But it was simply the fact that we felt that we wanted to go into the production side of it. As a writer, whilst it's fabulous, there's a lot of decisions made on scripts that you're not party to. So, for example, you might write in a character a certain way or to look a certain way. And then, the directors get involved and other producers get involved, and it kind of gets changed to whatever their vision is as well. So being a producer kind of gives us a little bit more control over what we do. But it also gives us a lot more control over the company. And what we decided was that we wanted it to be an ethical, sustainable company. And so therefore, what we're trying to do is to have a separate arm for the company, whereby we will be sustainable in the sense that if we're producing a film about people who are homeless or have mental health issues or have some sort of problem, we will actually be giving back to the community, not just in monetary terms, but we hope to be able to upskill and retrain these people so that we're giving back in other ways. And we're not perpetuating things. So we're using our stories to highlight issues as well. But that doesn't mean to say they're not entertaining, because they are.
Oh yeah, of course. And at the end of the day, this is why I did it. I'm not into filming and nothing like that. I've done TV and film work, but when I first started this last year, I've done it really to help people who've got mental health and people who were on their own, going through depression, because I've been there, so, and it's been working out all right for me. But the trouble is when you kind of like start a new company and what you're doing, and you're saying that it's like you're doing films and documentary style about everyday life, really, isn't it?
Yeah, we're not doing documentaries. We are doing proper films, proper entertainment. So there's a lot of fiction. One of the films that we've got in slate at the moment is called Dead of Night, and it's about it's a thriller. So it's very much in the thriller genre. It's Scandi noir themed. It's got all those classic things in it. There's loads and loads of twists and turns. So they are proper films, proper entertainment. We're not dealing with documentaries. We may at some point in time, but we are addressing issues that are in those films or TV scripts. So we are addressing, the issues that are contained within them. And then with the books, because obviously I have a separate company for my books rather than film and TV work. And what I'm trying to do there is to use the money there, use the funds there to fund more animal rescue here and abroad, and also to help basically change things, to highlight cruelty to animals, to try and change people's perspectives. So that's basically the whole point of what I'm trying to do. Which sounds like, when you put it like that, it makes it sound like really boring. And why would you want to read about that?
No. I'm a Christian person, and I believe I've got faith. And one of the charities I support is people in Romania for dogs in Romania, and food parcels and stuff. The church I go to, they support people with. They send the shoe boxes, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. What we do is we get shoe boxes, and so if the wife's not looking one time, I nick a pair of her shoes and I put them into one side, and I get a box and I use that. No, I'm only joking. But we get the boxes, and what we do is the ladies, what they do is they put all gifts in it, and toothpaste and stuff like that. So that's what that's what um, my church does, and that's quite good. And it's like dogs in Romania as well. I don't know if you've seen the documentary on it, but dogs can be really, really ill treated, left alone on the streets of Romania, and that is terrible.
It's an absolutely huge problem. The dog I've got at the moment, that I'm fostering, is Bosnian. So she's come from Bosnia, which is very, very similar to Romania, both in terms of, the culture and the way that they treat animals. And I'm not saying that everybody in Bosnia or everybody in Romania treats animals like this, but it is very endemic within their culture that they just kind of let animals get on with it. I mean, it's not just dogs. I mean, my grandfather was Spanish, so I have a huge connection to Spain. And, the bullfighting over there, which does still go on, it's horrific. There's no two ways about it. I know they say in a lot of places it doesn't go on.
I thought it was stopped. I thought all that was stopped.
No, I saw a recent video about it. They were, I was really upset. And they put, I don't know if they went on to kill the bull afterwards, but what they did do was they put these flaming sconces on the bull's horns, and it was just terrified, and it was just a new, fresh level of hell that this poor creature was going through, and they were all running after it and pulling on its tail, and it was just awful, and it's all animals, and it's in Britain too, it's everywhere, it's totally endemic, and it's really upsetting because you can try and you can save a dog, and that's absolutely wonderful, but the problem is just ongoing, and saving one dog is fantastic, but millions are dying every day, dogs, cats, giraffes, elephants, literally every. So what I plan to do is to try and change that in whichever way I can, and therefore the funds from the profits from my books are going towards all of that, which is a really big aim. So fingers crossed. So buy a book, for God's sake, help us.
Let's talk about your books. So why sci-fi? Because not as a young lady, I've got to be kind of like polite, but as a young lady, sci-fi for a young lady. So do you like all your sci-fi programs like Star Trek and?
Yeah, some of them. I like things. I'm not so keen on space operas. So I like sci-fi things that are more grounded and character-based, which is what a lot of mine are. So, for example, my Owner series, which is a 10-book series, which is the one I mentioned when we first started to talk. Although it's sci-fi, it's an epic tale of humanity, basically. And it's about humans who are kept as pets in the same way that we would keep dogs, cats, canaries. So they're kept as pets and they're socialized, but it's at what cost? And that it's examined throughout these 10 books. So basically the 10 books cover thousands of years. It's really an epic dystopian tale. So although I write sci-fi, it's not necessarily, guns and lasers and beam me up, Scotty. It's not that sort of sci-fi, effectively.
Mm-hmm.
But I also write thrillers. I write drama. I write comedy. I'm very, very cross-genre, so I write across all the genres, books, films, TV, everything, literally everything.
Mm-hmm. What I was researching you, I found quite a lot about you and what you've done. And I'll tell you what, you have done quite a lot, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm very driven. I'm very slightly insane, maybe more than slightly. I'm very driven. I think partly because I've got this huge aim at the end of it. It's not like I'm going to write a book and I'm going to sell a book and I'm going to make money and buy a flash car. That's not me. That's never been me. It will never be me. Because I'm driven by this whole scenario of trying to amass money to try and help animals and help people and do all this stuff. There's very Max Bygraves there for a minute. There's very much a push within myself, to do this. So I literally up at 6 o'clock every morning. I write till sometimes 12, sometimes 1 or 2. Then I'll do admin tasks. Then I'll do social media, and I'll do other things. And then sometimes I carry on to the evening. So I work 7 days a week. And sometimes I work 12 hours. Sometimes I only work 6. It's like half a day when I work 6 hours. But it's work. Yeah, obviously it's work. I have to knuckle down and get on with it. But because it's so dear to my heart, and nobody's pushing me. There's nobody standing there with a whip going, get on with it. It's me doing it. So yeah, I just do it, and I love what I do.
Carmen, I think what I was researching you and everything, there was kind of like, I don't think it was about money or the fame part of it or whatever. I think it's you want to make awareness and also get the message out there, don't you?
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to do mainly. You want
Yeah.
people to take notice and say, there is a big problem. Take notice, please.
Yeah. I mean, I know, Steve, that you said that you're religious. I'm not religious. I was born, I don't know if you're born a Catholic, but I was raised as a Catholic up until I was about 10, and then I was raised as a Protestant for the next however many years. So I've kind of seen both sides of that coin, and I think that does come across in my writing a lot. And though some of my characters are religious, there are mentions of God. There's certainly a question there. I think in a lot of my books and film and TV work, there's very much this sense of me trying to explore the human condition and trying to find out, is this all there is? Is there more to it than this? But ultimately, whether there is more than this, whether there's a God, whether there isn't a God, whether all of that exists or not, the reality is that there are problems in this world. And I do believe that we all have, a moral thing to answer here, that we have to be part of
Are you saying that because if there is a God, why isn't he doing anything about it? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get into that religious thing. However, the reality is, and it's always been the thing that's got at me, is this idea of a God being all-seeing, all-knowing, all-caring, all everything, omnipotent, basically. And it doesn't sit well with me, because I always think, if I was God, which obviously I'm not, but if I was, if I knew about this stuff, I wouldn't allow it to happen. And I know that the religious answer to that is that mankind has free will, and that, we kind of made our bed and we have to lie in it and all of that, and that we were talked out of the Garden of Eden. However, that aside, when you see and hear of the things that are being done to babies and children who are totally innocent, and I mean, I suppose you could say that by the time somebody gets to 18, they've probably made a few sins, probably done some bad stuff, babies and children and animals who are completely innocent. There is no justification for that. For me, I don't believe there's any justification for that. And so I struggle with this idea of there being a God and allowing that to happen. I really genuinely do. And I get that everybody has their own faith, and I wouldn't want to be disrespectful to anybody's faith, but for me personally, I struggle with that, and I think
Yeah, I don't even advertise it. I brought it up because that's the way I am. That's
yeah,
my belief. We all got beliefs and we all got different, but it doesn't. I don't go around preaching it. It's just the
yeah,
way I am because I come from. It was my life, and at a certain point, I had to change my life. And where I am now, and I'm grateful to it. But it's I could we could go on about more about you, and hopefully I want to get you back because we're not even covered what about your TV. The trouble is the TV, and can you explain what have you done so far for TV then?
okay. So I had it's so difficult to talk about this because there's NDAs, non-disclosure agreements in
Yeah,
place.
yeah, just give us a hint.
Yeah, over most of this stuff, so you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that, you can't mention the next thing. But I had a big, before coronavirus struck, I had a big TV series that was about to be greenlit, and we were forging ahead and everything, and something happened basically, and it's had to be pulled for the time being. There's another one, which again I'm not allowed to talk about. It has major A-lister stars attached, and a major A-list star director, and fingers crossed this should be happening. But this isn't with my production company because, as I said at the start, my production company is very new. So this is with another production company that I was effectively brought on board to write for. So so
Can you
that's
tell us?
nice.
Can, now many people know on radio and doing these podcasts and TV, but many people know that I try to get things out of people, right?
Oh,
And so what I'm trying to say to you is this: what channel is it? What who you're working with?
I'm not allowed to, genuinely not allowed to say any of that right now. The only thing I can really tell you about are my books right now. The film that we've got, hopefully being filmed at some point in time, dead of night. I've also got another couple of films on various production company slates and our own. And at the moment, I just finished what I plan to be my last book ever, because the film and the TV work has taken over to some extent. And the books, because I was doing it myself, I could go at my own pace, and that was fine. But with TV and film work, you're very much, the draft's got to be
Yeah,
written,
it's quite a lot in it. Yeah, yeah,
sent off on time. So scheduling's tight. So for that reason, I've kind of put the books, to one side for now. I've written 27 of them, so it's not as if.
yeah. And that's why I want, if it's okay with you, to get
Yeah,
you
sure.
back. Then we can go through all the books and everything.
Yeah, that'd be
But
lovely. And maybe by then, if I come back, maybe we'll actually have something on air, and I'll be able to say, "See, look, this is what I couldn't tell you about at the time."
yeah. I don't worry. I do my research. I know some bits. But I've got to be careful what I'm saying.
Of
But
course.
the trouble is, and also because we're going through it quickly tonight. But also, you're an actress too, aren't you?
Oh, I'm not a good actress. Not good. I tell you
No,
what,
no, no. Come on, tell everybody what you've done as an actress. Come on.
nothing basically. I went to drama school part time, and then when I was 18, I left Glasgow, went to live in London for about 18 months, 2 years, and I did a couple of things on the stage. I did a play, a musical, called KDAL, the radio show. Don't know if it exists anymore, but I was 18. Prior to that, when I was back in Glasgow, I was in a theatre group called the Gadabouts, and we actually won an award for a play that I was in. I can't even remember the name of the play, but I played a very young married fisherwoman, lived up sort of north, somewhere up the north of Scotland. But yeah, so after doing KDAL, did another couple of things, and then I went for an interview this one time in a studio, and they had the microphone very low on the floor, and they taped me walking across the stage, and they played it back. And I never ever went for an audition again after that because I sounded like a Nazi walking across. I'm very heavy footed, and all you could hear was clunk, 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 clunk. It was terrible. But very recently, I'm a member of Script Sirens, which is a female collaboration,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
lots of writings. And we did a little, during lockdown, we did a few things. One of them was a little radio podcast drama thing. So we each wrote one. And I actually acted in one with my business partner, Louise Osborne. So she's a much better actress than me. But it was fine because it was a radio thing. And, you know, if you're watching this podcast now, you will see I gurn terrible when I talk. I'm one of these people who uses their whole face, you know, and their whole mouth. And so I was being a very Scottish person in this thing, which was a little, something like an 11-minute horror comedy thing. And I was being this Scottish woman, a very sort of evil Scottish woman. And I was gurning terrible because I was acting, you know, and I just thought, yeah, just as well, this is radio, really. I really don't have the face for TV. I'll definitely stick to podcasts, I'm afraid.
No, you have got the face. You have got the face, and you have got the acting for TV. Definitely. With all your books and everything, why did you self-publish?
So originally I self-published because I was totally unknown. I'd done a variety of things, and then I'd started to write, and, you know, I'd been a stay-at-home mum for a while, and so I didn't have this huge set of contacts to call on. And back then, you know, the internet was in its infancy. This is how long ago we're talking about, really. The internet's grown, you know, so fast. And it was a lot harder to connect up with agents and publishers and things. You had to physically write off to them, you know, snail mail, and send your manuscript and everything. And I sent it off to a couple, and I think one of them was Random House, and I got a letter back saying, this is really good. It's not what we're looking for right now, but it is really good. And so I very cheekily phoned up the editor who had written to me and said, oh, you know, is this your standard letter? Is this what you send out to everybody? And she said, I don't tell people things I don't actually think are true. It's very good. It's up to you whether you carry on or not, but I would say that it would be a sad loss if you don't carry on writing. So I was kind of, you know, geared up then, and I thought, oh, you know, I can do this. So after a while, I thought, right, well, I'm going to write the second book, and I'll see what happens. And the first book was just sitting there. So I'd moved on to the second book, and I thought, this is kind of crazy. I need to do something with it. So I self-published. But at the time, I didn't have the know-how to actually physically manipulate the book, because there's a lot of formatting that needs to be done and all of that. So I paid someone to put it up online for me. And then I wrote another couple of books and sent them out to agents, got an agent, got publishers. And then after a while, because I'd carried on writing and I'd moved into film and TV, it just seemed more sensible to actually bring all the books back under my own umbrella, because I was doing everything else for myself. And I've since learned now how to actually format them, how to manipulate them, and actually get them on Amazon and do all of that stuff. So, you know, and I'm the person who always goes, oh, I can't do anything technical. But, you know, I sat down and I learned it, and so I've done that now. So that's another skill, which is great. And
I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that.
I also revamp other people's scripts now, and edit things and polish scripts. I've done a few for Hollywood. So I do all that sort of thing as well. So I'm pretty versatile, really, simply because, you know, writing a book is very different to writing a film. It's a totally different set of skills, but the main part is the same. It's storytelling. So if you can tell a story well and get it into people's heads and hearts, that's the main part. And then the rest of it is just, you know, finding your way down different formats and learning other skills.
Yeah, the problem with me, because I had a stroke, several strokes.
Yeah.
I when I was involved in doing film, TV, documentaries, and everything, I had an agent, and she said, "Oh yeah, we're going to do this. Write a book." And I've written it. It took me ages to write it, but then then I think we fell out or something over something. But next week we didn't publish it, and I've been trying to self-publish it, and I just can't do it. I can't do it. You know what I mean? I find it really, So, but
well, you know, if you need some tips or whatever, then, you know, get in touch and I'll talk you through it. It's relatively simple once you get your head around what you have to do, but, you know, it's painstaking. It's very time consuming, and you literally have to go through everything with a fine tooth comb. It's just part and parcel of it, you know.
Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah. So this is Carmen. Thank you very much. Sorry, it's been short. What I'll do is I'll put the website up. I'll put everything about her on our website. Don't forget Crossroads Podcast UK. And if you could put us a review, I'd be grateful. On the Crossroads Podcast UK. And don't forget, guys, if you buy our books, I put all the titles up as well about our books. And next time, hopefully, when she comes back on, we're going to be talking about every single book in detail because they are really, really good and interesting. In the meantime, thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Steve. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.